Hi guys, it's Kelly here and welcome to the Simon Says Stamp Masterpiece blog hop. Today I am going to be using the Whimsy Alpha stamp set from Wplus9 that's from the box, and then I'm also going to be using the Amaryllis and the hand lettered Hello, which are other Wplus9 stamp sets that I have in my stash. So what I did was I laid out the stamps on my Mini Misty so I could see how that they would stamp out and make sure that they were all straight and lined up and good to go. And then I set that aside to work on my background. So I'm using Zig Clean color markers on some Canson watercolor paper because this is super easy. And also they're very vibrant colors. I'm a huge fan of any colors that basically punch you in the face. That's just the kind of colors I enjoy. So I put them down on the paper, just dry paper, and then I'm going in with clean water and my paintbrush. I'm kind of setting a boundary first, and then I'm going to go ahead and start touching that color. If you touch the color with a wet paintbrush before you have a boundary set, that's fine. Just understand that wherever it's wet, that's where the water is going to go. I like to just set those boundaries so I know where it's going to be contained. It does, like you can see the purple kind of branch out there throughout the whole ring. It does do that. The first color that you touch is kind of going to branch out, but I just blot the edges, and it's not really a problem for me. There really isn't a wrong way to do a loose watercolor background. So just do whatever kind of feels right to you. I always like to add a couple little water splatters and then dry it down. This is a super soft background right now. I usually do 2, sometimes 3 layers. For this card, I ended up doing 3 because, like I said, I really wanted that vibrant color. You have to be careful with this because you can get a muddier background depending upon the colors you use. If I had used just the orange, yellow, purple, and pink, I probably wouldn't have been risking it too much. I would have just had to keep the yellow and the purple away from each other, but I couldn't leave the blue out because blue's my boyfriend and I love him so much. So I had to have blue in there. So I had to be very careful to make sure that the blue and the orange and the purple and the yellow weren't getting friendly, because they can make your colors a little muddy, especially when you're doing them layer on top of layer. I wanted to add some blue in the bottom right, but every time I moved it on the paintbrush, it just got really muddy. So I just scribbled some on my Ranger craft mat and then picked it up and added it to the already wet background, and that worked out. So this is normally where I would stop because it's super vibrant. But I wanted a little bit something more because it was going to basically be the focal point of my piece. So I've got the watercolor background and I have these super cute alphabet stamps. Like, that's all I got going for me here, guys. So I got to work what I got. And I do love this alphabet stamp set. One of the first things that I thought of when I saw it was quotes. I don't know how many of you are on Pinterest or, well, even like the memes on Facebook, like there's just hipster quotes everywhere. And I love them. So this was one of the first things that I thought, like, what a super cute way to mix your typography, and be able to, even with the stamp sets that you already have, to try to get something that you want. So one of my favorite quotes, that I actually was introduced to on Pinterest was, "Beautiful girl, you can do hard things." And I love that because, dude, that's totally true. You can do hard things. So I wanted to make it into an encouragement card. So that is how I got the idea, I guess, for the card, what I wanted it to be. But I also wanted there to be some softness. I love flowers, and in like the quote "beautiful girl," like to me there is a inherent softness about those words. Kind of wanted to play on that in my background. So I used masking to get those amaryllis stamps where I wanted them to be. I just had 2 masks and I moved them around however I needed to make sure everything was stamped and good to go. From here, this is really a minimalist card for real, guys. I'm just going to do some shading with my C markers. That's all I'm going to use. So if you're new to Copics, which I see a lot of people leave comments on my YouTube channel that says that they are new to Copics, definitely get some grays. Because you can shade anything with grays. So here I'm just going to go in with my gray markers and add some shading to get some dimension. basically, I'm using the C1 and the C3 on all of the petals. I'm using a light hand and a flicking motion from where it would be the darkest, i.e. the center, out. Then I'm going to go in with that C5 and only put that in the deepest, darkest parts of the petals that would be in the background. And I'm going to do this for all of the flowers, though I'm only going to show you 2. While we're watching me color, please let's talk about this Masterpiece box. Have you seen what is in there? Like 15 stamp sets. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I mean, it has a price point on it, but I think it's well worth what you're getting. Like, they have adorable flowers from Simon Says Stamp, and there's ninjas from Mama Elephant. Like, who doesn't want ninjas? Seriously. Oh my gosh, those dogs from Tim Holtz. They're like crazy birds, but better because they're dogs. Like, I gotta get those. So once I was done doing the shading with the C's on the actual flower petals, I'm going in and putting in a shadow. This is going to help lift my image up, well, the flower images, from the rest of the background, because we are working kind of monochromatically, even though there's like a billion colors on this. You get what I'm saying. You know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, leave me a comment. I'll try to figure out a better way to explain it. Anywho, so I'm using that C7 to add that shadow in as if my light source was in the top right. That is all I did for the shadow. I didn't blend it out. I did nothing. Put in those dark lines, moved on with my life. Here, if you were one of those people who, like, early on when Copics came out, you bought like the 36 cent with like colors that don't blend at all, I don't recommend buying those. PPS. I recommend building up your own collection of colors to blend. But anyway, if you were one of those, or if you only have a handful of Copics, using those grays to get dimension and then adding a color on top of them is a really, really, really great way to utilize what you've got. So here I wanted there to be that super intense, like just punch in the face, like knockout punch. And so the way that I did that was shading with the grays, but then going back in with colors that were similar to what was in my background and using those to layer on top of the C's to make that color more intense, to make it just a little bit more powerful imagery. So when you're painting your background, if you only have a handful of Copics, then use what you already own in the background, and you can totally do this with any color combination or any image. Like, it doesn't have to be flowers. I just have an affinity for flowers because I think they're beautiful. So after I was done with the coloring, I always outline all of my images. That makes me happy. So I'm going to go in with a EK Success journaling pen, and I'm just going to add in those lines. For the outside border, I'm going to press down a little bit harder than for those fine lines in the middle, just because the fine line, I don't want to make the fine lines in the middle so thick that I lose the daintiness of the florals. So now basically my background is done. I'm going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment on top. The alphas they're called Whimsy Alphas because they don't all match and they're just super cute and adorable and can be used for a ton of stuff. So I really, I'm like, this is supposed to be random. So I'm just going to pick them off this acrylic. Is it acrylic? Whatever. Acetate. That's what it is, guys. I'm going to pick them off the acetate and I'm going to line them up, and however they land, they land. How they landed was my first 4 letters are outline and the rest of them are solid. So it's just, I totally didn't plan it. That's just the way that it came out. I am heat embossing with Versamark and white Simon Says Stamp embossing powder. Please use your anti-static tool before you start embossing. It will save your life, I promise. Here, I didn't get a good impression, even though I gave that thing Sherry Carroll CPR. So on the T, I had a spot that was missing. I just filled that in with a Versamark pen and added more powder. Once you melt it, it all melts together, and it's no biggie whatsoever. I could have tried restamping with the Misty on top, but I just didn't feel like that was going to work for me. That's basically the card. I heat embossed a little girl and cut that out of some black paper, added it to the top with some fun foam, and that was it. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you guys have a wonderful day, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye.